Men of War, #1. Ivan Brandon writing, Tom Derenick on art. I've never really been into war comics, so I didn't really know what I was going to do, when I got to this, whether or not it would be my cup of tea. And surprisingly, I don't dislike it at all. If anything, I think I do like it. So I'll tell you what happened, you decide how you feel about it. We open up with a slight flash forward. It is a soldier on the battlefield. He's bloodied up. He thinks he's blind. He's blacking out, and he feels that today he's going to die. And it's just this horrible explosion-filled battlefield behind him. Cut back to he's in an office talking to some superior officers. This goes on for several pages. It's mostly just exposition. Who is this guy? What's his deal? He lost his father. His mother is comatose, hasn't been responsive for a long time. His only life he knows is the army. He's a corporal, but he's kind of at the end of his current rope, and he should be a sergeant. He's been insubordinate a few times, but every time that he has disobeyed an order, it's led to a exaggerated victory for him and his group. So he obviously has the smarts for it, but for some reason he doesn't want to be a sergeant. And I'm kind of unclear as to why. Maybe that's clear to people who have more of a military background, but I genuinely don't get it. Anyway, his sergeant is telling him, like, why? Come on, do it. Man up, man up, man up. And the other guy in the office is like, hey, that's enough. Cool it. No more anti-military talk. And the guy's like, it's not anti-military, it's anti-bureaucracy. I don't understand how, but, whatever. And the guy says, like, look, you're at the end of what you can do in your own enlistment. Come help me out. We're doing a secret mission. And they cut to the secret mission, which is essentially a senator was going to do a ceasefire in a country of... doesn't say... So a country, but a bad country. So he was doing a ceasefire, and he went missing. He just disappeared. And they have to go in and find him in a place where they don't know anything about layouts or they don't have any backup or anything like that. They have to drop in, unnoticed, rescue the guy. So they drop in. As soon as their chutes are pulled, this red, streak of light appears across the sky, and the corporal recognizes that it is human, and it's just destroying stuff everywhere. It's obviously a superhero or supervillain of some sort. But basically the grounds are now inflamed, and the flames are making it so their chutes won't land where they're supposed to. They're going to just land in the fire. So the sergeant... I want to see if I can get his name. Sergeant... it literally just says Sergeant. I'm sure he has a name. Anyway, Sergeant pulls out a bazooka and just blows open a place for them to land. So they land. They're trying to get their bearings. They look around for the sergeant, because the rest of the group got separated from him when he was pulling out the bazooka. He's being chased by some local militants. He runs into a cave, and I love this little bit of writing here. The worst thing you can hear in the line of fire is nothing. The silence hangs in the air. It starts to tell its own stories, and then the sergeant's sawed-off breaks it. I love that, and it's just him turning on his night vision goggles and unloading on these militants. He comes out of the cave. He's beaten them all. He hooks back up with his crew. They start to move into the city when they see another figure in front of the moon. A superhero just floating there. The sergeant claims yeah, he's supposedly on our side, so keep your eyes peeled. And the dude flies around, and apparently, according to this, it's all in silhouette, but according to this, it looks like his shadow itself turns against him. Kind of unclear as to what's happening. I'm sure we'll get explanation later. But as soon as that happens, he immediately starts destroying buildings. Entire city blocks are just completely demolished. The sergeant and the company all run for cover and try to escape the city, but there's an explosion, the air pressure drops, and then we just come back to where we opened up the comic with, where he's lying, he feels like he's blind, he thinks he's going to die today. And then his sergeant, this is corporal, by the way, was blind, but the sergeant, who's impaled at this point, he's dying, he reaches over to him, hands him his dog tags, and says, "You're the sergeant now." And it's revealed that he is Sergeant Rock, which anybody who's familiar with any DC history knows that Sergeant Rock is one of the famous war heroes in comic books from DC. He served in World War II, And this is actually his grandson, Joseph Rock. And they even make a mention of that earlier on in the comic. I skipped it for reveal's sake because I felt like that was the one thing they should have done. But they say how his grandfather was Frank Rock and how he has big shoes to fill. But Joseph is just saying that he's got his own plans in mind. He doesn't care about his own legacy. But yeah, no, like I said, I've never read a war comic before. I don't know how I would particularly feel about it. But I really like this, if only for... I like how it still fits in the universe. Like, there's a superhero thing happening, and it's causing all this destruction, but the focus is not on it. It's in silhouette. We don't even know what hero or villain it was. It's just some superpowered thing. But the focus is on the soldiers and how they deal with it and how they're making their way through. I like that. It's a good way of finding a medium between, okay, how do we do a war comic while superheroes are running about? I like that. As it comes down to art, nothing blowing my hair back, but it is all very competent. It's got the gritty style that I feel is necessary for a war comic, a lot of browns and grays and blacks, until it gets to like fire and stuff like that, and then you get all the reds and oranges. But no, it's a very, very, very well-written, well-paced book. I'm curious to see where it goes from here. So no, overall, I give Men of War probably a 7. I think it's a nice book. It's maybe not for everybody, depending on your opinions on war comics already, but I think it's a very solid entry into the war comic genre, if those really even still exist. But hey, I'm looking to see more, so they did something.